The courthouse doors swung shut behind me as though they were sealing off 2 decades of my life. I stepped out into the chilly air clutching a thin folder, the only physical reminder of 20 long years I had invested in a marriage that had slowly hollowed itself out. The divorce decree still felt warm against my palms, but inside me something far colder had settled and crystallized into certainty. The wind nipped at my thin jacket, but for the first time in years, the weight pressing on my chest lifted. If this story touched your heart, friends, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more touching stories. Thank you for being here. Ahead of me, my ex-husband didn't spare even a backward glance. The moment the signatures were dry, he strode toward a black car waiting at the curb. As I yanked the door open, I caught sight of a young woman in a pastel coat sitting inside. Pretty, polished, and unmistakably her, the woman he had traded our family for. The car slid away, leaving behind the faint scent of expensive perfume and a silence that should have hurt. Strangely, it didn't. Instead of grief, I felt something like release, the kind that only comes when a cage door finally opens. A warmth buzzed in my pocket, my phone. Without hesitating, I unlocked it and opened the banking app. Months ago, he had convinced me to open a main credit card in my name and issue supplementary cards for his use. Not just for him, no, for his sister, his drinking buddies, even a cousin who never once sent me a thank you message. 15 cards, 15 little gateways they had used to drain my credit, as if I owed them the world. My thumb hovered over the management menu. Each card's last 4 digits were lined up neatly, all flashing the word active. One entry in particular caught my eye, the card ending in 886, his favorite. He always claimed those numbers meant luck. I knew better. Just last month, that lucky card bought his mistress a designer handbag worth more than everything I had spent on myself in the past 3 years combined. A quiet heat rose in my chest, not anger, but something steadier, sharper. So I tapped cancel. A box appeared asking for confirmation. I didn't blink. Approved. A message popped up. The supplementary card ending in 886 has been canceled. A smile nudged at my lips. That first cancellation felt like slicing through the final string holding me to him. One by one, I shut down all 15 cards. My phone chimed repeatedly as confirmation messages rolled in, tiny bells announcing my freedom. Ping, ping, ting, the sweetest music I'd heard in years. Just as the last card vanished from the list, a voice message from Zuri, my best friend, arrived. Maka, you're not going to believe this. My client, the events director at the Grand Regency, just told me she saw your ex booking an engagement party with that girl. He's bragging about throwing a $75,000 celebration next month. I let out a quiet breath of amusement. The timing was almost cinematic. I typed back, "Oh, I know, and trust me, he won't be paying a deposit today." My steps felt lighter than air as I walked home. The ring of each cancellation still echoed in my mind. For 20 years, I had lived cautiously, always worried about what would happen if things fell apart. Today, they finally had, and I felt nothing but relief. As I unlocked my front door, one vow rooted itself deep in my chest. From this moment on, I would live for myself. I hadn't even finished taking off my jacket when the front door shook violently under rapid, angry pounding, and I knew exactly who it was. What waited on the other side of that door was only the first storm, but I was no longer the woman who endured quietly.
The pounding on the door was so forceful that for a moment I thought the hinges might give way. My old cat darted under the sofa as though an earthquake had struck. I tightened the belt of my coat and walked toward the noise without hurry. I already knew that kind of aggression. My ex-sister-in-law had always behaved as if the world owed her explanations she never earned. "Maka, open this door right now." Her shrill voice cut through the wood like a blade. I picked up an orange peel from the counter and tossed it into the trash before answering. If you have something to say it from there. Don't start with me. Open up. With a sigh, I released the lock. The moment the door cracked open, Bisa shoved her way inside like a gust of hostility. She was dressed in her usual theatrical manner. Loud floral dress, makeup caked on thick, hair teased high like she was preparing for a photo shoot rather than a confrontation. In her hand, she gripped a shimmering handbag I instantly recognized. It had been charged to one of my supplementary cards. She slammed it onto the coffee table so loudly that the chain clattered like a threat. "What is wrong with you?" she screeched, planting her hands on her hips. "My brother just tried to pay the deposit for his engagement party, and every single card failed. He called the bank. They said they were all canceled by the primary cardholder, which is you. Have you actually lost your mind?" I crossed my arms and met her fire with quiet stillness. "Yes," I said plainly. "I canceled them, and—" Her jaw dropped as though I had personally set her apartment on fire. "And, do you hear yourself? My brother has been using those cards for years. I use them too. I had shoes picked out for this week, and now I can't buy anything because you shut everything down without warning. Who do you think you are?" I didn't bother arguing. Instead, I walked calmly to the study, retrieved a folder, and tossed it onto the table. "Here," I said, tapping the top sheet, "the original card contracts. They state very clearly that I am the sole primary holder. Supplementary cards exist at my discretion, meaning I decide who uses them, and I decide when they end." Bisa leaned over the paper squinting, her expression twisting into confusion and frustration. But she wasn't about to give up. "These papers are old. My brother told me he changed the cards into his name ages ago. This contract doesn't mean anything." Without a word, I unlocked my phone, opened the banking app, and held the screen up to her face. My name shone clearly under primary holder. "Let him bring proof," I said evenly. "If he can show one legitimate document stating ownership is his, I'll reactivate the cards myself. Until then, stop wasting my time." The color drained from her face before she caught herself and lifted her chin stubbornly. "Fine," she snapped. "Let's pretend they're yours. But how could you be so heartless? He's starting a new life. How do you expect my brother to look after his new family if you're cutting him off like this? Do you want him humiliated?" Those words snapped something deep inside me. 20 years I had endured indignity, silence, and sacrifice, and now they dare speak about embarrassment as if I hadn't known it intimately? I stepped toward her, my voice low and cold. Did he worry about humiliating me when he booked a $75,000 celebration with the woman he cheated on me with? Did he think about my dignity when he drained our joint assets? I won't support his mistress or you another day." Bisa's eyes widened with rage. For a moment she looked ready to throw the glass beside her. I raised a hand sharply. "Try it. I'll call the police before that glass hits the ground, and when they arrive, I'll make sure every neighbor hears what your family has been doing." Her arm froze mid-air. Finally, she snatched her bag, muttered a venomous threat about telling her mother, and stormed out with a slam that rattled the picture frames. I closed the door gently behind her. The tremors in my hands weren't fear, just adrenaline. I walked to the sofa, picked up the folder she had scattered, and whispered to my cat, "This ends here. No more humiliation." But the knock that came half an hour later was softer, steadier, and far more dangerous. The next visitor wasn't loud like Bisa. She didn't need volume. My ex-mother-in-law's power came from something far more manipulative.
The second round of knocking was nothing like the first. No pounding, no shouting, just a slow, rhythmic tap that seemed to press down on the house with its own weight. The kind of knock that came with expectation, not rage. My stomach tightened, not with fear exactly, but with the old, familiar dread I used to feel whenever my mother-in-law got involved in anything. I set my cat gently aside and walked to the door. Before I could open it, her voice seeped through the wood, soft, almost grandmotherly, but with an iron core I knew too well. "My child, open up, it's me. Bisa told me she acted foolishly. I didn't come to fight, I just want to talk." Her tone was honey-sweet, but experience had taught me that sugar was often used to mask poison. I cracked the door open. She slipped inside instantly, as if my hesitation was an inconvenience. She wore the same dark green wool coat I had gifted her 2 years ago, its hem brushing her muddy shoes as she walked across my freshly cleaned floor without a glance. In her hand was a cloth bag that sagged heavily. When she set it on the coffee table, several apples rolled out, hitting the floor with dull thuds. She lowered herself onto the sofa, my spot, and patted the armrest beside her, commanding me to sit as though she were summoning a child. I dragged over a chair instead. She sighed, long and theatrical. "Oh, Maka, my poor girl, what a mess. Bisa called me crying that you canceled all the credit cards. Galani went to the hotel today and embarrassed himself terribly. You should have seen him begging them for help. Tell me, how could you do something so thoughtless?" She stared at me as though expecting an apology. I stayed silent. She interpreted my quiet as guilt and pushed on. "Listen, I know he made mistakes. He shouldn't have gotten involved with that girl. But men in their 40s get confused sometimes. It happens. You two have 20 years of marriage behind you. Isn't there even a little affection left? Must you be so cold? Without those cards, he cannot keep up appearances. What will his business partners think?" "Mother," I said carefully, "he didn't get confused. He betrayed me for months. Those cards are in my name. I have every right to cancel them." She slapped the table so hard the teacup rattled. "Betrayal? You exaggerate. That girl is young and attentive. Men enjoy that. And look at yourself. In 20 years you never gave him a child. If she can give our family a strong son, isn't that a blessing?" Her words were a slap to my chest. I stood, anger rising in me like a tide, and fetched the folder of receipts and ledgers I had organized. I placed them in front of her, flipping open page after page, evidence of money siphoned from the business, screenshots of his transfers to the mistress, expenses charged to my cards. I pointed at a receipt. On this day, I had a fever of 102. I begged him to buy medicine. Do you know what he said? That he was busy taking her shopping, and you want me to be understanding? My mother-in-law glanced at the papers and quickly looked away. "You don't understand business. Men have to entertain clients. Money comes and goes." $700 for a necklace for his mistress is business, I snapped. $75,000 diverted from the store, half of it mine. Her lips thinned. She tried to salvage control by shifting the blame. "You're still his wife in spirit. You should support him. If he gets sick from this stress, it will be your responsibility." I laughed bitterly. "Responsibility? You use your entire pension to support Bisa and her son. You save every cent. Meanwhile, your son uses my assets to play the wealthy man. And you expect me to fix it?" Her face suddenly contorted. Without warning, she dropped to the floor with a thud and began wailing, loud, dramatic sobs echoing through the room. "Oh, heavens! Look how she treats her elder! Neighbors, come see how this ungrateful woman abuses me!" The performance was flawless. It would have fooled anyone else. I rose, walked to the door, and opened it just enough to let the hallway sounds in. "If you want the neighbors to judge, let's invite them all. They will hear every detail, how your son siphoned money, lied, and cheated. Shall I call them?" Her crying cut off instantly. She scrambled to her feet, dusting herself with trembling hands. "You've grown bold, talking back to me. Just wait, my son won't forgive this." She shoved past me, grabbed her apples, and stormed out, slamming the door harder than Bisa had. The silence that followed felt like peace after a storm. My heart was still pounding, but something inside me had settled firmly into place. They could no longer manipulate me. But even as I calmed my racing breath, a truth lingered in my mind. If his mother had failed, my ex-husband would be next. The phone call arrived sooner than expected, and what he said was darker than anything before. The house finally fell into a fragile quiet after my mother-in-law's exit, as if it too had been holding its breath during her theatrics. I cleaned the scattered apples, wiped the muddy footprints she had left on my freshly mopped floor, and restored the receipts to their folder. My old cat, having crawled out from his hiding spot, nudged my leg gently as if to remind me I wasn't alone. His small presence grounded me more than he knew. But the calm didn't last long. Just as I was finishing dinner preparations, my phone buzzed violently on the table. The screen lit up with a name I had once loved to see, a name that now felt like acid on my tongue. Galani. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I walked over, turned on the recorder, set the phone on speaker, and only then tapped accept. His voice blasted through immediately, sharp, furious, and already on the verge of hysteria. "Maka, have you completely lost your mind?" The old cat flinched at the sudden noise. I stroked his back, keeping my own voice calm and detached. "Yes," I said simply. "I canceled the cards." "So what?" he roared. "I went to the hotel today in front of everyone, and when I tried to pay the deposit, 7 or 8 cards were declined. Do you understand the humiliation you caused me? The manager looked at me like I was a beggar. That girl wouldn't stop nagging. You did this deliberately." A laugh slipped from me, soft, almost weary. "And did you not deliberately humiliate me when you took her to restaurants with my money? When you bought her handbags worth more than my entire wardrobe? When you funneled over $75,000 from our business into your personal account?" "That money was for business needs," he snapped, but I could hear panic creeping into his voice. "No," I corrected gently, "it was for your mistress." There was a pause, a heavy one, before he dropped the anger and slid into manipulation. His tone softened into a pitiful imitation of affection. "Maka, we were married for 20 years. Even if things didn't work out, couldn't you have warned me first? Don't you feel anything at all? Can't you pity me a little?" "Affection?" I repeated. "When you hugged your mistress in our shop? When I had a fever so high I could barely stand, and you refused to buy medicine because you were drinking with a friend? Affection died long before today." His mask cracked, but guilt act evaporated. His voice blistered through the line. "Listen, woman, reactivate those cards, now. If you don't, I swear you'll regret it. You think those little papers you've kept mean anything? The divorce settlement is done. You'll get nothing more from me." "Oh, I think a judge will disagree," I answered coolly. "My lawyer and I are meeting tomorrow. We'll see what the courts say about asset diversion, unauthorized transfers, and misuse of marital funds. Perhaps they'll consider your actions incriminal." "You hired a lawyer?" His voice shot up an octave. "Maka, don't push me. My mother already told me if you don't cooperate, we'll show up at your house every day. The whole neighborhood will know you were trying to bleed me dry after the divorce. And if you do, I will call the police every single time. I have recordings, evidence. Let's see who ends up embarrassed." There was a harsh thud, like he had slammed his hand or the phone against something, and then a trail of curses poured through the speaker. "You witch! You'll see. I won't let you live in peace." "Good night, Galani," and I hung up. The recording time blinked past 3 minutes. Perfect. I saved it, backed it up in the cloud, and labeled it Threats, Exhibit A. Later that evening, Zuri messaged me. I forwarded the entire audio. She replied instantly, "Excellent. Keep everything. We will bury him with his own words." And for the first time in years, as I sat at my quiet dinner table with my cat beside me, I didn't feel frightened. I felt powerful. But the calm didn't last long. Just as I was finishing dinner preparations, my phone buzzed violently on the table. The screen lit up with a name I had once loved to see, a name that now felt like acid on my tongue. Jelani. I didn't answer right away. Instead, I walked over, turned on the recorder, set the phone on speaker, and only then tapped accept. His voice blasted through immediately, sharp, furious, and already on the verge of hysteria. "I'm Jelani's fiancé. Accept me. We need to talk." What she sent me after I accepted her request revealed exactly the kind of person she was and how deep my ex-husband's lies ran. The notification blinked insistently at the top of my screen. New friend request. Callous. Her profile photo was impossible to miss. A heavily filtered selfie, glossy lips, a diamond necklace prominently displayed, as if she wanted the world to see it sparkle. I didn't need a second guess. It was her. The Mistress. Or, as she called herself in the request message, "I'm Jelani's fiancé. Accept me. We need to talk." A younger version of me might have deleted the request, blocked her, maybe even cried. But the woman standing there now, the one carved out of betrayal and clarity, simply accepted it. Instantly, a flood of photos hit my inbox. The first was a wide shot of a luxury hotel ballroom draped in golden light, chandeliers glowing overhead. A banner in the background read, "Happily Ever After," though the names hadn't been added yet. The second was a mirror selfie of her in a wedding gown, grand, shimmering, the kind of dress meant to stun an audience. She flashed a V sign, the diamond ring on her finger deliberately angled toward the lens. The third was a photo of her with Jelani, wrapped in a nauseatingly intimate pose while pointing at an extravagant wedding menu. Then came the text. "This is where our engagement will be. Jelani says he wants a $75,000 celebration for me. My dress alone is over $20,000, and the ring is $18,000. I bet you never saw anything this fancy with him in 20 years. If she expected her words to sting, she would be disappointed. I took a spoonful of soup, savoring the warmth before I typed my reply. Beautiful venue. Lovely dress. But tell me, are you paying for it, or is he? I didn't wait for her response before adding, because earlier today he couldn't even pay the deposit. 7 or 8 cards declined. He called me in a panic. Her reply arrived so fast I could feel her heartbeat through the screen. Stop lying. He has plenty of money. His business is doing extremely well. You're just jealous. I almost laughed. Jealous? Of her? Of someone living off stolen money? I typed slowly, deliberately. I was married to him for 20 years. I know his finances better than he does. His business barely breaks even. Last year, he diverted $75,000 of our marital assets. Half of that was mine. Then came the finishing blow. And that dress, that ring, those were charged to my supplementary cards, which I canceled. This time, she didn't answer immediately. When she did, her tone had shifted, cracks beginning to show through the arrogance. He told me everything was settled in the divorce. He said you got what you deserved. He said the cards were his. I sent her a screenshot of one of the transfers he had made to her account. $3,500 to you. Label, for your bag. Marital funds. Her silence stretched for nearly 2 minutes. Then, like a cornered animal, she lashed out. "You bitter, pathetic woman. You're obsessed with the past. You probably still want him back." Her insults poured in, childish, uncreative, and desperate. I didn't respond. I simply took screenshots of the entire conversation, neatly filed them in a new folder labeled Mistress, Evidence, and forwarded them to Zuri. "Good," she wrote back. "Let her bark. Her panic will be her undoing." A moment later, another notification appeared. "This user has removed you from their friends list." I put my phone down, took another spoonful of soup, and slid a piece of egg to my cat. His soft purr felt like reassurance. But the day wasn't over yet. Not even close. Tomorrow, Zuri and I had an appointment with a lawyer who specialized in post-divorce asset recovery, and for the first time, I felt hope blooming where dread had lived for years. The next morning, the lawyer opened the folder of evidence, and what he uncovered changed everything. The next morning dawned earlier than my mind was ready for, but adrenaline had a way of scooping me out of bed before the alarm even buzzed. I checked the briefcase twice, receipts organized by date, bank screenshots labeled clearly, audio files backed up, screenshots of the mistress's messages neatly printed and clipped. I wasn't leaving a single crack open. My old cat watched me from the sofa, blinking slowly as if giving me a silent blessing before I left the house. Zuri was waiting at the street corner, leaning against a lamppost in her red jacket, holding 2 warm breakfast sandwiches. She waved the moment she saw me. "Eat," she ordered. "We're dealing with legal matters today. No fainting on me." I laughed, taking the sandwich. "You'd make a terrifying general." "I know," she said proudly. "Now let's go rescue your money." The lawyer's office was modest but immaculate, lined with neatly framed certificates and a handful of appreciation plaques. The atmosphere radiated quiet competence, the kind that didn't need to boast. The lawyer, a calm man in his early 40s with attentive eyes behind rectangular glasses, stood to greet us. He gestured for us to sit and offered water before saying a single word. "Show me everything," he said. I placed the briefcase in front of him and opened it. He examined every document with meticulous precision, turning pages slowly, tapping his pen against key lines, marking sections, writing notes. The silence in the room was so deep I could hear my own heartbeat. Zeri reached over and squeezed my hand reassuringly. After nearly half an hour, the lawyer leaned back, folded his hands, and said the words I hadn't dared to hope for. "You've done an excellent job gathering evidence. This case is extremely strong." My breath released in a shaky exhale. He lifted the business ledger sheets. "These are especially important. You've documented every dollar entering and leaving the supply store. According to these records, between May and October of last year, your ex-husband transferred $75,000 from the business account to his personal account while you were still married." He tapped the paper again. "That makes the entire $75,000 marital property. He withdrew it without your consent. Legally, this constitutes asset concealment and unauthorized diversion. The court does not look lightly on that." A warm surge of vindication spread through my chest. After months of feeling gaslit, minimized, and dismissed, someone was finally acknowledging the truth. The lawyer continued, flipping to another section. "What's more, based on these bank statements, at least $7,000 more was spent on non-business related expenses, handbags, jewelry, restaurant bills, items clearly intended for a third party, not your household. That is also recoverable." Zuri pumped her fist silently like a victorious sports fan. Then the lawyer held up the printed screenshots from the mistress. "These are excellent supplementary evidence. They show that he used marital funds to buy luxury items for her. Combined with the audio recordings of his threats, this paints a very compelling picture." I felt my eyes sting, not with sadness, but with relief that all the pain I had endured hadn't been imagined. He looked up at me. "In summary, you will recover the $75,000. That is almost certain. You are also entitled to half of the house and half of the car. And with this mountain of documentation, it will be very difficult for him to argue otherwise." I sat there for a moment, absorbing the reality that justice wasn't a myth. It was within reach. "What's the next step?" I asked. The lawyer immediately pulled out a form. "Today, I'll request a court order to access his personal bank accounts. Once that's approved, likely within 3 or 4 days, we'll trace the rest of the money, and then we file the official claim." Zuri gave me a sideways grin. "I told you, with the right people behind you, he doesn't stand a chance." As we left the office, sunlight spilled across the pavement like a quiet promise. For the first time since the divorce, I felt something steady growing inside me. Hope, yes, but something stronger too. Confidence. Everything was finally aligning. But that calm wouldn't last long. By the time evening approached, a new message arrived, one that revealed my ex-husband had started suspecting something far sooner than we expected. His suspicion led to a tense meeting at a cafe, and it did not unfold the way he planned. By late afternoon, the quiet satisfaction from the lawyer's meeting was still humming in my chest when my phone rang again. The screen flashed with the name I'd grown weary of, Jelani. For a moment, I considered letting it ring, but curiosity and caution won out.
I answered, recorder already running. His voice was nothing like the shouting from days before. It was hushed, almost shaky, tinged with forced gentleness. "Maka, do you have a moment? I want to talk, properly. No yelling, no fighting." That alone told me something was brewing. When a man like him came speaking softly, it was never kindness. It was strategy. "If you want to talk," I said, "say it now over the phone." "I can't," he insisted quickly. "We shouldn't discuss sensitive matters like this on the line. I want us to clear misunderstandings. Meet me, please. There's a cafe by your place. Half an hour. I'll wait." So the trap was set. "Fine," I replied, "but I'm not coming alone." A pause. Then he forced out, "Bring whoever you want. I just want to resolve this." I hung up and immediately phoned my lawyer. "He's panicking," the lawyer said after listening, "most likely trying to pressure you into giving up the assets, maybe persuade you to sign something. Don't worry, I'll come with you." 30 minutes later, we entered the cafe. Warm air wafted from inside, smelling of roasted beans and cinnamon. By the window sat my ex-husband, hair slicked back, jacket pulled neatly around him, a latte placed theatrically in front of his seat, my old favorite, though he never bought it for me when we were married. The moment he saw the lawyer beside me, his expression tightened. I pulled out my chair and sat across from him. "This is my legal counsel. He'll be here for clarity." Jelani cleared his throat. Of course. He forced an awkward smile. "Maka, I didn't call you to argue. We've been through a lot. I told my mother and sister to stop causing trouble, and I hope we can settle things peacefully." That was his opening attempt at softening me. I waited quietly. He continued, leaning forward. "About that money. Look, you've misunderstood. I didn't steal anything. I only borrowed funds for business liquidity. It was temporary. I meant to return it once the business stabilized, but things got complicated." "Complicated?" I echoed. "Yes, the business is struggling. The girl is angry every day. My life is stressful." He sighed dramatically. "I thought maybe we could pretend the whole thing was a misunderstanding. Say that you lent it to me." I stared at him, expression unreadable. He mistook my silence for hesitation and pressed onward. "Let's make a fair agreement. You keep the house. I'll give you a compensation payment, say $120,000. Then we end things without lawsuits. No one has to get hurt." My lawyer slid a stack of documents onto the table. "Mr. Jelani, your offer is not only insufficient, it's irrelevant. According to these records, 5 transfers of $15,000 each were made to your personal account, followed by transactions benefiting a third party. That is not borrowing. That is diversion of marital assets." Jelani grabbed the ledger, skimming the pages with trembling hands. He swallowed hard. "And here," the lawyer added, placing bank statements before him, "are 8 transfers totaling $40,000 sent to Miss Callis, funds traced back to the marital account. This is indisputable." Red crept up Jelani's neck. His polite mask shattered. "Maka, how could you?" he spat. "You're trying to ruin me after everything I did for you." "What you did," I interrupted calmly, "was spend our savings on another woman." He shot to his feet, pointing a shaking finger at me. You witch, you'll regret this." He stormed out, leaving the unpaid latte behind. The moment the cafe door slammed, a heavy silence settled. I exhaled slowly, the tension draining from my shoulders. My lawyer gathered the documents calmly. He's cornered. He knows it. Now all we need is the final financial report from the bank. After that, we file. Zuri messaged me moments later. "Good, let him run. He's running out of lies." And she was right. But I had no idea the biggest revelation was still ahead. Something that would expose just how rotten the foundation of his new engagement truly was. What came next was a secret from the hotel, something that would unravel his entire engagement facade in front of everyone.
2 days after the cafe confrontation, life settled into a strange mixture of calm and anticipation. I woke early, brewed myself a mug of ginger tea, and sat by the window with my cat curled lazily across my lap. Even the sky seemed quieter, as though the universe itself was holding its breath for whatever would come next. But peace never stays long when trouble circles. At 10:17 a.m., Zuri called me so abruptly I nearly spilled my tea. "Maka," she said, breathless, "I just got a message from my client at the Grand Regency, the hotel where your ex wanted to book his engagement." My stomach tensed. What happened? "You're not going to believe this," she said, lowering her voice, even though we were on the phone. "They called him this morning because their finance manager noticed something strange about the payment attempts." I straightened, fully alert. "Strange how?" Zuri paused, savoring the drama. "Several of the cards he tried to use weren't just declined, they were flagged." "Flagged?" I repeated. "Yes, for suspicious activity," she said. "Apparently, when he kept trying card after card at the hotel, the system automatically launched an internal audit. They pulled up past transactions and discovered that most of the cards were tied to your credit file. And even worse, some of his past payments for hotel rooms, dinners, and spa packages with the Mistress were also traced back to your accounts." A heavy silence filled the room. I clutched my mug, absorbing her words. "So the hotel knows the cards aren't his." "Exactly." Zuri clicked her tongue. "And here's where it gets better. The hotel manager tried calling him to clarify ownership, and your ex apparently went ballistic. He yelled at them, accused them of discrimination, threatened to expose their incompetence. Of course, all this did was make them dig deeper." I leaned back, letting the satisfaction roll in slowly. He really thought charm and shouting would solve everything. "Oh no," Zuri said, "it gets worse. The hotel told him that unless he provides legal proof of ownership of those cards, they will ban him from future bookings." I laughed hard. "Ban him from the Grand Regency, the place he brags about visiting every month?" "That's not all." I could practically hear her grinning. "Do you remember how he announced his engagement party would be a high-status event? Well, apparently the hotel staff overheard him arguing with the fiancé in the lobby yesterday, and she was yelling at him about one specific thing." "About what?" Zuri inhaled dramatically. "About him lying to her about his finances." I froze. Zuri continued. "She kept shouting that he promised her she was wealthy, that he'd give her the world and she wouldn't be caught dead with a broke man. Apparently, she even tried to slap him, and the hotel security had to separate them." A sharp rush of irony washed over me. The same woman who flaunted her designer bag, her shining ring, her glamorous life, now face to face with the truth of what she'd attached herself to. But Zuri didn't slow down. "One last thing," she said. "The hotel manager wants to meet you, privately. He said he has something else that might help your case." I blinked. "Help my case? What could a hotel possibly have?" Her reply was chilling. "He said he can show you exactly how long the affair has been going on, with dates, names, room numbers, everything." My pulse skipped. The evidence from the hotel would expose more than infidelity. It would reveal a secret that even I didn't see coming. The next morning, I headed to the Grand Regency with Zuri by my side. The hotel lobby looked exactly as I remembered. Glossy marble floors, the faint scent of citrus and lilies, a soft piano melody drifting from hidden speakers. It was a place meant to impress, meant to feel untouchably expensive. And once upon a time, I had believed my ex-husband belonged in a place like this. But now I knew better. A young woman in a navy blazer approached us with a professional smile. "You must be Miss Maka. The manager is expecting you." We followed her down a quiet corridor lined with framed photographs of celebrity events and award ceremonies. At the end of the hall stood a glass office door etched with gold lettering, "Finance and Events Director, Mr. Emeka Osei. The door opened before she could knock. Mr. Osei stepped forward with a warm yet composed expression, greeting me with a firm handshake. He was a tall man in a tailored gray suit, the kind of person who radiated quiet authority. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I understand this is a sensitive matter. Please sit." His office was spacious, filled with natural light and towering shelves of neatly organized binders. A large monitor sat on his desk, already pulled up to a detailed screen. He folded his hands and began gently. "I want you to know something first. We would never have contacted you if not for the audit. The system flagged several inconsistencies that required verification." "Inconsistencies?" I echoed. "Yes." He clicked the mouse, bringing up a list of transactions. "Your ex-husband tried to use multiple cards that were not under his legal ownership. Those cards, according to the banks, are tied to your credit file. That alone required us to freeze his booking attempt." I exchanged a glance with Zuri. This was already helpful, but clearly he had more. Next, he turned to another folder labeled Archived Transactions, Guest Accounts. We reviewed all prior bookings under his name, and patterns emerged. He pulled up a spreadsheet, rows and rows of stays dating back 2 years, room numbers, dinner charges, spa treatments, even flower deliveries. Room 734 appeared again and again, always booked for 2 guests, always paid with supplementary cards. "Here," he said softly, opening a subfolder, "this is where the audit became serious." He clicked a file labeled Security Log 6 months ago. The screen expanded into a time-stamped video still. There she was, the mistress, walking through the lobby in a white summer dress, arm hooked through my ex-husband's. They were laughing, relaxed, familiar, intimate. I felt nothing. Not anger, not heartbreak, only clarity. These incidents go back much longer than your divorce timeline. In fact, he clicked one final file, Guest Registration Archive, 2 years, 3 months ago. My breath stilled. There it was, a reservation for 2 nights, under my ex-husband's name, paid with the same supplementary card, my card. And the guest registered with him wasn't the mistress. It was another woman, a different one entirely. My chest tightened, not from pain, but from recognition that the betrayal ran deeper than I had feared. Zuri leaned forward, whispering, "Oh my God, he's been doing this for years." Mr. Osei nodded sympathetically. "I am obligated to inform you that our audit uncovered more than just the recent affair. Legally, this information supports a case of prolonged misuse of marital funds. If required, I can provide certified records, timestamps, and the audit summary." He handed me a sealed envelope. Inside were printed copies of the registration logs, flagged transactions, and internal audit annotations, each page more damning than the last. "Thank you," I said, my voice steady. "This will help more than you know." He nodded. "I am sorry you had to learn this in such a way, but you deserve the truth." As we left the office, Zuri linked her arm with mine. "Maka, this is huge. He didn't just cheat, he used you as a bank for multiple women." I exhaled slowly, a new clarity settling into my bones. I had thought I already understood the betrayal. I had thought I knew the worst, but the truth was deeper, rotting, layered. And now I had all the proof. By the time we reached the lobby, my phone buzzed, a new message from an unknown number. Zuri leaned in to read. Her eyes widened. "Maka, you're not going to like this." The message contained just one line. "We need to meet. I know things about Galani you don't. From someone he also betrayed." Who was this mysterious woman, and what secrets was she holding? If this story touched your heart, friends, please like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more touching stories. Thank you for being here.